Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Reginal, the peopleologist, coming to you one more time with our We Already broadcast. I hope that you like, share, and tell a friend. Give us some thumbs up over on our YouTube channel. Tonight, like every night, we will always focus on something, some aspect of our lives that will help us to be ready. That's whether you have to get ready for the next 7 hours, the next 7 days, the next 7 weeks, or the next 7 months. Do you have a game plan? Do you have any idea of what it might take for you to survive? And we focus on so many areas because over the years, when I see people, whether it's a pandemic, a pandemic, or a pandemonium, or a man-made or natural situation, people don't have a clue. And if you don't have a clue, you'll be left up to the mercy of someone else. And usually those folk might not have your best interest. One thing we learned in this country, if you don't plan, nobody's going to plan for you. Strictly put, uncut, nobody's going to plan for you. If there's a disaster whether it's a man-made or a natural, if you don't have enough water, if you don't have enough food, you will be at the mercy of whoever shows up. And we've seen it in so many scenarios, whether it was a 7-day situation, where there was a flooding or a hurricane or a tornado, and you saw the people that were at the mercy of food lines, power outages. And then there were other people that even when those things happened, you didn't see them in the streets. You didn't see them having to scavenge for food after 3 or 4 days. You didn't see them worry about the power being out, things of that nature. So tonight, we're going to be sharing some things. And I got a special guest who has been focused on training, informing, mobilizing, and empowering people through strategies that can help anybody survive something. And I know sometimes you can't prepare for everything, but the unprepared are usually the ones that's going to cause either you a problem or me a problem. So I would rather for everyone in my group, everyone on my team, family members, to have at least thought about what they're going to do if we are without some things for either one day or a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So I have to bring Mr. Eric Morton. Uh, uh, he's got a plethora of things that he does. We work together on so many things, Eric. You know, people ask us, even when we talk about dads on duty, how to get men ready so you don't have men crying when there's a situation, or even if you a woman and you're in charge of your family, you don't want to be panicking and the kids start freaking out because you ain't ready. But maybe you can give them a little update about you. And welcome this evening, Brother Eric. Give them a little information about yourself. I'm a Navy man, and but Army, and sometimes that helps because the military prepares you to be ready. I know.
What?
Drop something on us, brother. Give us a little information about yourself, and then you know how we do it. Go right into sharing something.
Thank you, first off, for having me on, Drama. I appreciate you having me on this evening. I'm Eric Morton. I'm a native here of Georgia. Been living in Atlanta since '88. Got out of the Army, the U.S. Army, back in '88, and I've been here ever since when I came through here, and just love being here in my home state. And I just, and when I moved here to Atlanta, I got involved in the film business, and I started off getting the film business here way back in '88, before all the things that we've had now that's been going on with the industry and whatnot. And I started actually doing a production training with Georgia Piedmont Technical College back in 2014, and I'm still with them now, teaching production and teaching forklift certifications with it. And what I found for me is what I bring to the table in a lot of instances is the ability to help train and gather information and help people strategize for some of the things to look forward to. But when we talk about prepping and being prepared for instances. A lot of times we don't take the time to realize that we have the ability to learn a lot of different things that we grew up with, because some of us are older than cable networks. Some of us remember TV used to go off at night with a lot of fuzz on the screen.
Big deal.
And so we have got to start learning that we don't have to give into the guise of what's going on currently with everything by being technically connected to everything, because regardless of the technology that you have right now, if the power goes off, what can you do to survive and not lose your mind? You know, you can play cards, you can read, you can actually put puzzles together. You can have other projects that you can work on, learn how to make baskets, learn how to work with different materials, bamboo, and things that are plentiful that are around you in your neighborhood, because these may be some critical things that you need to do to help you survive. So being prepared starts with taking the time out to be prepared in your everyday life. And we're not saying that you have to be a prepper, which is actually a great thing, but you need to be prepared in your everyday life. For instance, if you own a car, you need to have an emergency roadside kit in it, a first aid kit in it, and tools in it, because if the car breaks down, you might be able to do some things yourself, or at least have the tools in case somebody stops and actually can help you, or somebody that you call can come and help you. You've already got tools there so you can slow down that the stress of being stranded or being broke down. So let's start with the things that we can do by making sure that we have strategies that start with our everyday lives. And I just want to put that example out there about being ready for like I said, for your own driving your cars daily, what you can do for your own situation. So let's just make sure that we can be planning to survive.
Yeah, like you said, the basic things, because a lot of times, and I've been in situations, and this just normal situations, a traffic jam, not being prepared to, you know, people don't know the area in which they live, work, and drive. Okay, I've seen people that got stranded in another area. They couldn't tell nobody where they were. Thank God for GPS and tracking devices and things of that nature. But just say some of the things that we can do, we have to pay attention to our surroundings. We've had people in their own neighborhoods that had never been, and these are some larger neighborhoods, 100 homes or more, but they had never walked around the neighborhood, didn't know how to enter the neighborhood, but only one direction. And if something happens and that neighborhood got blocked or there was no way out, they were held at the mercy of whatever was going on. I see we got Miss Thomas there too. Tonight, oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Because even mentally, you have to be prepared. Like you say, even if you got the food, if you got all the supplies you need, and people inside your family or your circle of influence aren't mentally ready, because we've seen people break down, especially in the military, when they couldn't get the things they were used to having. We put things out. If you got a smoker, he can't get to his cigarette, or you say, well, we're going to lock down the house and nobody leaves. And there's some people cannot stay in the house for 7 hours without an issue or a problem. But I want to introduce Miss Thomas so she can come in, because she's always our professional, counselor when it comes down to certain things, because even part of survival and being ready, there's a lot of mental up here. We got people that's on medications and meds, and if they don't get those medications or meds, how are they going to deal with not being able to return to normal? So how you doing, Miss Thomas?
I'm doing great this evening. How are you, drummer?
Doing great. I know you might have to reintroduce yourself and introduce yourself. You're a regular with us, but you like our personal person that professionally helps us when it comes down to a lot of these things, because even getting into physical shape, whether it's a physical disaster, we've had people that couldn't go a mile.
Right.
They less than a mile away from where they need to be and ought to be, but they didn't have enough physical strength or enough mental fortitude to make it. They got discombobulated. That's, going back to, we learned it in the military, Eric. If you drop us off somewhere, you got to look up and find something that you're familiar with, so you can get into the direction of safety. But you all feel free to come. I just want to share that. But let me throw this out there real quick, because I always got to throw the challenge out there. We got a 100-day challenge. That 100-day challenge, we've done this many times. People jumping over crates, they pouring water on top of people, they dancing, all these TikTok videos. But we got 5 things we encourage people to do over the next 100 days. One is to spend a little time with yourself, me, myself, and I. Spend at least 1 hour a week. That's less than 10 minutes a day. Number 2, drink at least one 16-ounce bottle of water. That's going to help your joints, clear your mind, all that type of stuff. And then walk, run, or crawl at least a mile a day. That's going to help you with your circulation. That's going to help your health. Because a lot of people, like I said, I've got people that got to take a break to walk up the aisles. Not putting anybody's health conditions down, but that's because our physical bodies aren't prepared. And then the 4th thing was to save $1 a day over the next 100 days. You do that over the next 100 days, you'll have $100. If you real good, save $10 a day, you'll have $1,000. And the 5th one was get in contact with your family members. Okay, touch bases with your family members. Start to make a list of your living family members so that you'll be able to be in touch with them and show and duplicate some of the things we're doing, especially what we're doing tonight, because a lot of families never talk about surviving. A lot of people don't go hunting, so they don't know how to survive 3 days in the woods. But that's my little podium moment. But when you look at things that you need, and I know we talked about like a ready bag, a bug-out bag, something that you can grab in a minute. And if you had to leave the house right now, if you don't know what to grab, whether it's a fire or a burglar in the house, you got to get out the house. And I was sharing with you, I keep something on my person at all times. I got just little items I keep in my pocket. Now, if I got to grab the bag, that bag's got something in it. The car, it's got something in it. My workspace, I got a bag. I got a bag everywhere I go. So if I got to get it, and even if I was out, I know I got to get to the bag. Because once I get to the bag, and don't let me get to the big bag, but these are my survival bags. And
absolutely.
So maybe you can speak to that, or either one of you, things that you got to have. Because even as a lady, you got to have some things. If you're not, and not to be on a tangent, but I encourage anyone, especially now during this pandemic, or pandemonium, whether it's man-made or natural, and I'm real hard on men like this. I say it shouldn't be a man out there with hush puppies and slippers on. Because when a situation breaks out, I was trying to help a lady push a car. There's a brother out there with house shoes on.
He can't help.
Yeah, he can't help. I had to put him under the steering wheel, and the lady had to help me push the car. I mean, you're useless. I was like, man, goodness, you gonna get out the car with some flip flops and hustle, Anyway, but you all can jump in there. But that's the type of survival we're talking about.
I'm with you, drummer. From a woman's perspective, of course, I'm Sharia Thomas. I am what we could call the resident consultant for We Are Ready show. I have a background in mental health, physical health. Been a trainer as well as a licensed mental health therapist. So I take a really holistic approach when it comes to helping others. And so as you were talking, drummer, just in terms of being ready and just being physically in terms of knowing that anything could happen, that was something that I learned and my father taught me at a very young age. And so, although I wear heels, I have a cart. I have a cart, and this is just as Mr. I think Morton, Eric was saying in terms of being prepared, is having whatever that kit is. I always have a pair of sneakers, even though I may wear heels, having that prepared, having in terms of a pocket knife, and I keep that on my keychain, and I have one in my car, believe it or not, as well as, yeah, if for your car, I have a car kit. So some don't think about the importance of, yes, we want to be ready physically, and I can give my perspective of that as well. But in terms of surviving and just being prepared of just in case of any day life of an accident happening. Of course, we can't predict anything that may occur, but we can at least plan. And I'm big on acronyms because it really plays on the mind to be able to memorize and really be able to take that and absorb it. So I've created an acronym called PLAN. And so it means PLAN is to identify unhealthy patterns and triggers so we can learn our body and our lives and what it needs to actively move, and so that we can feel nice from the inside out. Now, how does that relate as our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, our spiritual body? It's all in one. But if we stay connected about just being aware of our surroundings, and that's what we're talking about today, is being, especially with you all coming from that military background, we have to be aware of what's around you so you can be prepared of what's to come. So plan, knowing your own patterns so that, hey, whether it is that, drummer, one thing you said about a friend of yours that had diabetes, and so she was having a what we might consider an episode because her blood sugar was low, is having some snacks on hand, if having a little pack that, of course, in a survival kit, we can only live for 3 days without food. So knowing that information, then we need to have a little bit of snacks there. We need to have our water with us because we can only live 3 hours without water. So having that in terms of knowing that is essential to be prepared.
Well, yes, and I was just gonna throw this in there real quick, Eric. I'm gonna let you get in there. But Miss Sharia is, you point out some things, but you are in physical shape too, because she can't defend herself. I'm not putting your business out there, but you know what I'm saying. Because as our women in our communities, you want a sister that can look nice, be nice. Like you say, you got the heels, but you say, okay, we went just in the mall, they just had a shoot. Baby, we got to hop. We got to run.
Have the flats in the purse.
Okay. All right. I brother. Yes.
Well, it's interesting that she mentions about the physical part of it, because I'll say this is that if you're not in physical shape, you're not going to be able to do the work with the tools that you have effectively. And therefore, it's going to take you longer. If you have to assemble your tent that you have in your bug out bag, if you have to unroll your sleeping bag there, if you have to start a fire, it's going to have a lot more physical effect on you than somebody who's in shape. And I would just tell you this, you better think about it. If you don't do nothing but join some of these places right here where it's $10 a month, and you can go in there for 30 days and do something about it. And that, if you don't do nothing but go in there and walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes a day and change up and do weights another day, but you need to be going in there to stay in physical health, because guess what? Being in physical shape nowadays will also help you fight COVID. Mm-hmm. That's what people don't realize. That's the best thing we can do in this country to fight it. Get your butt in shape. So if you get it, your own body will fight it. So being in shape is also being prepared for other things that come up. If you have to push your car off to the side of the road, if you have to get your bug out bag and carry it for a mile, You need to be able to do that, because there may come a time, and we've seen it with other incidents around the world, where people didn't have fuel supplies, they didn't have power, and they had to get to other places that had it, and they were struggling, crying and fighting and not being prepared, and making it seem like it's somebody else's responsibility. It is your responsibility to be in charge of what you need to do. It is your plan. You know where you live, you know the resources that you have and don't have, and you need to know where the other resources are so you can get there. But if you don't have a plan, how you going to tell somebody to help you?
So true. I'm glad that you bring that up, Eric, in regards to being physically, our physical health plays a big part in terms of building our immunity, and definitely still in the midst of this pandemic, whatever it is. We know that COVID, we hear about that. So in terms of keeping our immunity high, it definitely depends a lot on our physical health. And actually, I am running a free trial with my wellness community, 14 days, that it provides virtual. So this is for anyone, not just here in the local Atlanta, Georgia area, but you can go to my website at Sharia Thomas. Click on the link that says Meet Me in the Community, and we offer free nutrition plans, a workout community that helps you stay accountable, as well as up to 75 different programs to meet you where you are, so you can be in that physical shape and be ready for whatever may happen. Just as Eric said, in terms of your car breaks down, whatever it is we do, need to be in shape for that. We need to be prepared for that. So I definitely want to be of assistance.
It's going to start with this, and I just want to ask you, just your, if with your background, I'm looking at making sure I've supplemented my diet with vitamins. Sharita, what's your thoughts on that as far as helping me to help better, to improve my immune? Because I'm 50 plus as of yesterday. Another day on as the drummer said, another year on the planet.
Yes,
so,
sir.
So I'm just asking about, the supplement that with thank you. I'm just supplementing with our vitamins in our work, because I know that it's, as you get older, you probably need to add more vitamins to it, because our food is becoming less and less resilient the way it used to be. They just don't have the nutrients in it that they used to.
Yes, most definitely. First, I would encourage you to get a checkup as it relates to your blood work. That way it would tell any deficiencies that you may have. Normally, as melanated skin, we may be more prone to a lack in vitamin D. That can definitely play on our energy level. But I would definitely encourage you to get your blood work done, so that way in terms of what you might need to supplement. But always, even in regards to those supplementations, looking at what type of foods may, in terms of, say, you're low on iron. Of course, that's more of your green leafy vegetables. So kind of dependent on what is deficient in your body, so you can replenish that, whether it is food or supplements. And definitely supplements can be helpful.
Well, thank you, because that's just further proof that I think I'm doing better with that. I'm definitely trying to make sure get out and train about an hour to an hour and a half, at least 3 to 4 times a week. That's now become a regimen that I'm just determined that I'm doing that until I can't do it. That's just how it is, because we need to stay active, because the thing is that it helps you maintain a level of fitness, which will help support you in all of your activities that you need to do, whether that's, like I said, setting up your tent, whether that's gathering firewood, whether that's hunting, whether that's trapping, whether that's fishing, because if we ever get caught in a situation, we need to find ways to do it. And I will share this with everybody. You might not think that there's some entertaining things out there that we can do. I tell you what, have you ever seen the show called Naked and Afraid? Watch it. Learn what these people are doing, what they're going through with no clothes, with a few tools that they are allowed to have with them, and they are surviving, sometimes as much as 60 days being out in the wilderness, using the elements, using Mother Nature to survive. And believe me, you will learn a lot from them. The show alone, check it out and see how these people, somebody won $1 million because they stayed 100 days in the bitter cold, in the bitter cold.
Whoa.
And you got to see what these people did to really straight up survive. So if you're not a person who doesn't want to read and you want to be entertained with it, watch these shows where people are actually doing these things, and you will learn so much: how to start fires, how to hunt, how to trap, how to fish, using simple stuff that you can get from your corner stores, some of your convenience stores like Big Lots and the Walmarts and stuff like that, where you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can have some survival things in your kit. So take the time and check some of those things out, and it will help you gain a lot of knowledge about survival in the actual elements, whether it's the cold, rain, or the heat. And believe me, you will learn something watching these shows, because that's how I'm learning to pick up tips and stuff. And I'm trying to check and see what I can add to my bug out bag.
Hey, and brother, you made me think. We put it out, and I know a lot of people like we call them like the housewives of Atlanta, the Kardashians. You can look at all of them all you want.
They ain't coming.
But when it comes down to surviving,
they ain't coming.
All that stuff ain't gonna make nothing. So we definitely encourage our people, especially Black, brown people, because a lot of times we don't go hunting. Now, I'm more, especially live in urban city areas. Most people got a gun, don't know how to shoot it. We just started going to shooting range,
exactly,
getting ourselves up to speed so that if something does happen, you're not shooting up all your ammo. And there are people that teach you how to take ammo that you've already used and make ammo.
Yeah, use the shells, yeah,
right,
and reseal them and make them. I mean, it's one of them things. And it's interesting you say that, because that's the thing now. Because I'm trying to find a way now, and I'm just looking for a way to actually find, hey, a hunting pistol. And I'm thinking, is it probably easier to get it from, economically feasible to get it from law enforcement that's confiscating that they're reselling,
right,
So, I mean, we got to look at ways like that of doing it, because there may come a time when, when they talk about the shortages coming up for just the holiday season alone, when you look at what's happening out the ports that's out there off of California, and these, you have this backlog of these container ships. And if you haven't been going to the stores, start looking at the shelves. You're going to start finding more and more empty shelves, because what you're having is twofold happening. You're having shipping problems, and you're also having staffing at these places. And they believe it's going to get worse. And now, I don't know how true that is, but my thing is this: you need to start going to the stores looking for deals now. Because if you don't look for these deals now, and you don't start going ahead and planning and putting aside something, you don't need to get caught out here because, you too busy watching, like you said, the housewives of this and housewives of that, and you don't have nothing in the cupboards and stuff like that, because it's going to be you the one that's hungry. It's going to be you the one that's in the cold. You the one that's not going to know how to stay warm. You the one that's not going to know how to, keep a fire going overnight. You need to get them skills together, because I promise you, it's going to come a time when you need to at least know it.
Oh, yes. And if you're not doing, preparatory drills with your family, and that's survival 101, even preparing yourself if there's a fire, okay? During this holiday period, families get burned out, okay? And a lot of times they don't have a game plan. And the only alternative they have is the maybe the United Way or something like that. And this could happen to anybody. But if your family's prepared, and I remember when I was growing up, well, we lived on a flat, but we had a fire drill in my house. I think I was in the 3rd grade. and never thought we was going to have to do it. Well, there was a furnace heater that sits on the floor, and it got dust in it. One time, about 3 o'clock in the morning, it caught on fire. Now, when it caught on fire, we didn't have fire extinguishers. My granddaddy, grandmama, all of us was in the house, but we ran out of the house. Wasn't no smoke detectors or nothing. But because we had practiced one time doing that, we got out alive. And my granddaddy was able to neutralize the fire before the fire department came. Because there wasn't no 911 back then. So a lot of families, they don't have, even when you're in a hotel, you need to figure out how to get out. Should all hell break loose. And not to go all over the place, recently there was a concert in Houston, Texas, where 8 people died. This last week. And, you know, you got to look, large crowds. What are you going to do? All these holidays coming up, Christmas parades, New Year's things, you know, even with the social distancing, but every year there's people that get caught up in stuff. You don't know your capabilities of standing in large crowds, the heat, the cold, all this type of stuff. And people got trampled, and they say it was over almost 100 people injured.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, to prepare yourself, and we have to do these things with our children, our loved ones, because you might not be there with your family, but they need to know what to do. You know, my family wasn't but 2 of us in there, but I was training them how to do, because I was gone. You know, I said, you know, maybe it was cruel and unusual, but they had to know how to leave the house if somebody else came in and I wasn't there. And they need to know how and where to go, where they can be away and at least make a phone call or something like that. You know, keeping all this stuff becomes important. Keeping your cell phone charged. And these are scenarios where you got power. It's just a situation where somebody that came in the house acted up, and your family members don't know how to defend the crib.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things that we have to do, and even now, we had a young lady, her and her husband, I think he was there, one of their nephews. Well, because of COVID, he was put in a position where he was about 30 years old, where he couldn't live with his lady friend because they got into a fight over, you know, taking the jab. She said she had to do it, and he wasn't going to do it, and he had to leave. Well, anyway, he was, for lack of a better word, jacked up financially. So he couldn't stay with mama and them, so he had to come stay with them. And then when he got there, he did some of the same things. So anyway, him and that's got to be his uncle, got into a confrontation. Well, his uncle was out of shape, but his uncle had a backup plan. So when the brother decided not to follow the rules of the household, well, it wasn't pretty, but you know, if you in your house and you got what you need to protect your house, you're not gonna let nobody take over your house. So he did get a bullet, and you hate to see that happen. I mean, it could have been other ways to resolve it, but evidently, because the young man got frustrated because he wasn't able, because you know, God told him rules. If you're gonna stay here, this is what we're gonna do. I want you in the house by 12. You know, all these rules, and young brother could not deal with that. And that happens in our survivor thing. If you by yourself, it's a lot easier to survive. If you got a family and you have not educated your family, like I said, when I left the house, I would have to have, at that particular time, my wife and son, so they don't know what to do. Okay? You know, I don't, you know, I mean, and survive till I get there. And then we had worked out a thing. I said, well, if it just, and this was when 2000 was coming, you know, when everybody thought the end of the world was coming. You know, Y2K. You know, I took them to the little survivor camp. The first time I went to the survivor camp was right before the Olympics. That had to be 96. We went out there to Woodstock, and we was running around. They wanted to go to the mall, but I bet you this, they glad they went to that survival camp. They wanted to go shopping. We went there, and the people was running around. I think my son had to be, he probably was a teenager then, but he learned what these people were doing. They was eating outside. Mm-hmm. They was, eating what was in the bag. Wasn't nobody breaking it up from McDonald's. And that was just 2 days. And they probably still do things like that.
Well, my thing is, drama, it's things just what you said is that we don't even realize some of the things we do in our daily lives, i.e. a barbecue. Isn't that a way to cook something without cooking on the stove?
Right. Yes.
Why is that such a hard thing? So having a grill ain't a bad thing at all. Knowing how to grill ain't a bad thing at all. Because if you have to catch you some of these wild rabbits or some of these birds that we got here in here, and when you out in the woods, guess what? Them skills are exactly the same, whether you cooking on a campfire or you cooking on a grill in the backyard. You still got to know how to cook. But then you may have to up your skills and learn how to clean your food, because I know we're not necessarily used to going to the butcher's how we used to go do it, drummer, go in there to get them to cut the meat up and break it down in part and skin it and pull out all the parts that you're not doing. But we need to go back to picking up these skills and transferring these things over to our family, because these are actually survival skills that are real and genuine. So knowing how to handle their grill out there is not a bad thing. Start teaching your family how to grill, because if the power goes out and you got a freezer in there, you shouldn't be hungry if you got anything in there. Pull that sucker out and get that grill going out there, and you get you some fire to stay warm. You get you some fire so you can eat, and you'll be a happy camper while everybody else around here talking about, man, I ain't got nothing in the grocery store, but my freezer full.
Right. Oh, and not to get way out there. I'm gonna let you get it there, Mr. Real. But one of my buddies, he called them backyard groceries. Okay, this is stuff in your backyard. If it goes bad, crawling around, hopping around, everything in your backyard is game. The squirrel, the bird. I know it sounds gross at first, but there are people who say, I don't know what I'm gonna eat. We ain't seen nothing move. No grocery stores open. The line, no trucks coming in. Trust me, the rodent problem went down. Rats, roaches, squirrels, possums, all that is up for the dinner table.
Especially, we don't even them Canadian geese that come walking around in your neighborhood, flying in the group. Good source of meat.
You can, if you're good, remember this: a slingshot. First time I knocked the bird out the air was with a slingshot. But anyway, let you get in there, Mr. Rhea.
Well, speaking of that, and knowing that, yes, when we need to survive, it just comes down to whatever it is to survive, and that's understandable. As you all were talking about a bug out bag, I'm not familiar with that, and I don't know how many just a layman person is. So would appreciate you all explaining what that is and what would it entail, so we all are prepared in terms of having our bug out bag.
Well, I'm going to speak a little bit on my little bug out bag. Well, a bug out bag in short is that if you have to get to your house because if there happens to be a poisonous gas explosion in your neighborhood, or the power line is down in your neighborhood, or they're going to shut it off for any extended period of time, you need to have a bug out bag that they may say that you can go in. You got to have your bug out bag ready to go and bug out of the neighborhood and go to where it may be a hotel, it may be another place that you've got selected so that you can live. And your bug out bag needs to have in it a lot of survival things that you may need: a change of clothes, shoes, sleeping bag, a knife, a hatchet, a weapon of some type, something that you can start a fire with, something that you can actually fish with, something that you can hunt with, snare with, wire, things like this. And you need to have it in a bag. And I mean, nowadays backpacks are plentiful and all type of fancy colors and stuff. And you need to have one packed and ready, and you want to put mothballs in it so you can keep the mold out of it and keep it kind of fresh in there. But ever so often you want to keep this bug out bag ready to go. So if you are given 10 minutes to get to your house, you can get to your bag, grab your bag, and you got some survival stuff. You even need to have water in it. You need to have you some snacks in it. You need to have you some canned food in it. You need to have a can opener in it as well. You see what I'm saying? Sardines, things that you can do so that you can survive if you may not come back for a week, or as drummers say, them 7 days. What if you have to go somewhere and be gone for 7 days? I even got a tent that I got from Big Lots that was $20 about 10 years ago. A tent. Because what if your family has to go somewhere and sleep out in the element? You get a tent, and roll it up, put it in the backpack, put you some clothes in there, put you some rain gear in it. Because it's going to rain if you in places that, well, the thing is, it may be dry where you at, but it's amazing when you have a problem like that, how much that rain comes on you. You want to have trash bags, because what if you have to use them if you have a biological threat or something, or you may have to set up your own decontamination room. You want to be able to lay those things out. Get you some of those doggone drop cloths, clear drop cloth that they have, that you can get them for a roll, that you can get them rolled for a couple of dollars. But that stuff is thick enough that you can, if you have to cord off an area, or if you have to make you a tent with some duct tape, you can use it.
Thank you. That's so informative. I'm literally writing this down so I can have a bug out bag myself.
Yeah.
And I can be educated and help others to have it.
Yes. And I'm gonna tell you, just like on my person, when I leave the house, I got a flashlight. That's that. Okay, that's the same type flashlight, like a big flashlight the police have. That's my knife with the pliers. What we call them, I call them a man tool. You got to have your man tool, multi-tool type thing, but this is easy to grab. This is always in my pocket, because I know sometimes you go places, you search. Also in my person, I keep a bottle. This is my own mix, because I never know if I'm going to need some hand sanitizer. Well, that's a mixture of Listerine and peroxide. Now, if I run into a situation, say I'm in a large crowd and people start sneezing and spitting and coughing all over the place. Well, if I use regular hand sanitizer, usually it's got bleach or alcohol in it. Okay. Well, this mixture of peroxide and Listerine,
you can put it in your mouth.
I can put it in my mouth. I can't swallow it, but I can squirt it up in my nostrils and kill any little bacteria up there. Wipe my face. I can do all that with it without some problems. And if you, for extended amount of time, just say, and I had to do this with a couple of friends, say you can't get to a dentist, you got your mouth. I had a guy, face was swollen out of here. I said, brother, if you're gonna go to the dentist and you don't want to die, you need to suck up some of this peroxide and Listerine, old school Listerine, none of that flavored stuff.
No, the old strong original bad tasting stuff.
Yeah, it took the swelling out of his mouth, and he, he's surviving. And also, if you got any medications, now that means that if you diabetic, you need to be stocking up, because just say when those shipments happen, that means the medical supply is going to dry up. Now, if you can't go 3 days without your metformin, then you need to figure out something. That's where exercise and all that stuff starts to become important, because if you got to be looking, and if you can't go 3 days with anything, and sometimes that's why we say pray, fast, meditate, go without something to see can you go without it. Also, like I said, a flashlight, a knife, I keep salt. Okay, I keep sugar, just a pack of sugar, some salt, some cookies, and I got a backup battery for my cell phone. I got one of these. This is in there. That's a battery pack for the cell phone. I've got I keep masks. I keep these type masks right here, just so that if I'm somewhere, I just flip this mask on and keep moving. Plus, this mask can cover my head. I got a skull cap in there. I got some disposable gloves. And usually I can keep about 6 pairs of disposable gloves in there, because we got to touch somebody or touch something. I got the first aid kit in there. Got to keep that in there.
Yes.
I've got the cigarette lighter. Keep 2 of
Yes.
those in there. I've got
Matches,
matches, duct tape.
candles.
Yeah, if I in my small bag, that's all I got in there. That bag, I just grab that bag and I'm gone. I can survive for 3 days in that bag. I got my water bottle in there, and also, if you do have some problems, because a lot of times you can find water. Now I had a straw, and I know it sounds gross, but if you might find some water that's been used. Believe it or not, every drop of water we drink now, it's been used. It's just been filtered, and cleaned up. Well, this straw, you can stick it in the water and you can suck right out of some water. I don't care if Fred the Rhino had it. Exactly. You can suck that water and you'll live.
It's a survival straw.
Survival straw. You go out, it's a bird bath. It's people feeding the birds. That nasty water, if you need some water, you can survive. So that's that straw. You can get those from Wally World for like $20. And anything you can get solar powered. I keep the wind up radio. That's in there. That's in my bigger bag. And those come in handy, Eric, because that's a flashlight. You can hear the radio because you might have some people got to hear sound. They're gonna freak out if they can't hear the weather or you got to have that.
I get one that's got a crank on it.
Yes, that's the one. Now that's in my bigger bag. Yes. And you can get those. I encourage everybody to go into the hunting section.
Yes.
Because you got to see what. Now, if you're not hanging around white people that go hunting, you might not live. You need to hang around somebody going out there to get some deer, some quail, go fishing every now and then, or some country boys, that's out there shooting on a daily basis, killing something. I was out down in South Georgia. One of my buddies, he lived on a farm. We call it country boy all his life. He don't have to leave the farm.
He's right there.
He shot a cow. He killed a cow while we was there. He ain't never been to, I'm not saying never, but he don't have to worry about going to the grocery store. And, I would say this, he killed a cow while I was there. I was like, man, but anyway, we got to be ready. And those are just some of the things that you have to put in the bug. Like you already got a bug out bag. Miss Thomas, you got your sneakers. All those things are important.
Yeah,
exactly. You got one. You got one.
Have put aside. So I'm glad to hear that. We don't notice that, but that is a part of survival. Yeah.
And it's funny because my bug out bag is my old duffel bag that I use and I had since I was in the Army.
Okay.
I use that's my big bug out bag. Clothes in it, sleeping bag in it. I got my tent that's next to it and stuff, and I can get to it and get out of the house in less than 5 minutes and be in the car gone. And if I have to go somewhere and set up tent in somebody's backyard because they may not have space in their house, I can throw my tent up back there and be in that tent for a week if I have to.
Right. Well, I share this. You remember when they had the Olympic bombing? At their downtown Atlanta.
Centennial Park. Mm-hmm.
Centennial Park. Now, the guy, Eric Rudolph, I couldn't think of his name. He stayed missing for 3 years.
In the woods.
In the woods. He got to, you got to think about this. This brother stayed in the woods for 3 years.
And they was looking for him.
Every day. Now, just imagine a lot of people just not prepared. I don't know, could I stay away? Because if this thing gets real bad, that means say extreme conditions. We're in a situation where it's more than a year. No power, grocery stores as we know it have been looted, everything gone. All your backyard food becomes your daily norm.
Exactly.
Okay. Then you have to get in a position where you got to defend yourself from others.
Keep your resources.
Okay, so if you got neighbors, I was with a friend. I said, well, it was cold. I said, I picked 5 of your neighbors. We're going to put a bullet in them because you already know you're gonna have some problems with them. Keep at least $20 in trunk on the floor. Yeah, and you got to keep some cash money too.
Yeah,
because your ATM, what's that, cash out, all those things
gonna
probably
stop working.
If everything goes out after 7 days. Now, up to 7 days, my little battery charger, I can charge the battery on my little pack. I keep my little phones working. But what's after 7 days, there's no power. Unless I got a solar powered something. And I just ordered a solar powered thing. The solar powered deal, can be charged solar, and that gives you extended maybe a month. Okay. Now you got to think, if you don't have the tools or resources after maybe 6 months, that's total breakdown. That's total chaos. That means the military is in the city. Now, if you live in a city, the military, because Eric, when they take over, we see it. Military takes over, they quarantine the city.
It's
the people that
martial
are in
law.
Martial law. The people that are in the rural areas will have a little bit more freedom.
Because they gonna have access to their own resources.
Right. But once they shut that grocery store down,
most of the city people done.
They done. The grocery store, the liquor store.
Yep. Drummer, and you explain a little bit more in terms of, you said the solar power is that for what type of, say, appliances? I know other than a cell phone, would someone utilize that solar power outlet for? Okay.
For instance, this is for small stuff like cell phones and computers and stuff. That's if all those things are operating. Well, they've got solar powered generators. Okay. Mm-hmm. They have solar powered generators that would power a house. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now that's a different situation. That means you able to protect your house. Okay. That means you got your frontline appliances, freezers up and rolling. Mm-hmm. And you in a rural area, and just like a guy told me, he said, "Drummer, I got my generator. He got barrels, the same barrels I use for storing water, wash cars. He's got about 5 100-gallon things of water. Not bottled water. He got them.
Rainwater.
Rainwater. He got fresh water, and then he got him over that catching water. And like you said, Eric, he's purifying his water. Now, if you got a D in science, you might not want to purify your own water because it takes using bleach, Clorox. This brother is actually, he got a decontamination section at his crib. He ready. He said, I don't have to see Atlanta. He said, I'll fly a drone over it and see are there any survivors. He said, I was like, okay. But what I'm saying, there are other people, when you see some of these things like preppers, like these are shows we need to be watching.
Exactly.
When you see survivor shows and go back to, what's that movie? Tina Turner, Thunderdome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When you see those apocalypse type shows, people, I don't watch nothing like that. You see what people doing. They don't form little militaries because people coming to get your resources. If your neighbors or your neighborhood is not, two things going down quick: the hood and the suburbs. But ain't nobody gonna be messing with people that live out in them rural areas. Nobody ain't coming to Forsyth, Woodstock, all them places out there where they got. You said, man, I didn't know that I live out there. They got water, they got lakes,
and they got wildlife.
And wildlife, yeah. They picking up deer. Ain't nothing falling out the sky, walking around, or crawling around that they can't put in their mouth.
Yep.
And I know sometimes that seems extreme, but yeah, we have to look at people that are ready to survive. We had a guy on one of my other calls. He said, and he was out of Oregon. He made some people mad. He called in no more. He told me, he said, well, when next time I see you, it'll be 2023.
Wow.
Okay. And this was back in 2020. That's just, and he's prepared. He's off the grid. You know how people say, well, I ain't going to take the jab. And, I said, well, trust me, you're going to take the jab. I don't care how much you think you ain't able to do it. You are not that prepared to go against the system, and unless you prepared to take yourself off the grid.
Exactly.
I mean, the most durable people out there are probably the homeless people. Okay.
Exactly.
I know it sounds cold, but if you're in an urban area, if you can't live like a homeless person, you will be at the mercy of whatever shows up.
Exactly.
Because they can go in the garbage can, they don't catch no COVID. They can go, I remember this is before COVID. I was down on Auburn Avenue, and these people surviving, not putting them down or anything like that. But there was a guy with a bullet wound. He couldn't go to Grady. He walked around. I mean, it wasn't a pretty sight, but he took his own bullet out. And I was like, oh man, goodness, brother. Like Rambo days, gun smoke. Yeah. But they in survival mode. And other people that will survive, people from foreign countries.
Oh, yes.
Because they used to not have them. You can't not call these countries. I'm not like the former president, those blank hole countries, but those blank hole countries, those blank hole people, they ready. They come over here and live. While we be like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. They know what they're going to do.
They going to eat.
They're going to eat. I remember a brother, and this years ago, he jumped in the river, Flint River, down Albany, and caught a turtle.
What?
That's what he was used to. He saw one. We didn't even see it. He jumped in the river and caught the turtle, swam back, and it was cooking it.
See?
That's survival.
That's survival. But anyway,
no,
but I mean, yes.
I find myself to say to continue for me is to stay educated is through these entertainment programs, these shows.
Ooh, yeah.
Because these shows are very critical in what they're actually showing. And what they're showing you is real life situation where people are, quote, surviving. And they're surviving under different conditions with different resources. And they're showing you that it can be done. No, it's not pretty. But the thing is, if it needs to help you live until tomorrow or another day, these people do it. These people drink out of streams. These people kill wildlife. That's a resource because it's about the strong surviving. And if you either gonna be the one to survive or you're gonna be the one to succumb to death. And I'm like this, I'm gonna be the one eating instead of being eaten.
and not always by animals. Because people, trust me, we only got a little bit, but y'all can share something else. We as a species, everything is on the table for the, like I said, backyard dinners, everything crawling, worms. From the rooter to the worms, people digging in the ground, getting worms up, all this type of stuff. Birds crawling. Because if you see the birds, you got two meals. You got worms and the bird. And if you it's but not to scare anyone, but just to impress upon people. If you don't have a game plan for the next, whether it be the next 7 hours, the next 7 days, the next 7 weeks, or the next 7 months, or even next 7 years. A lot of biblical people know they talk about 7 years of harvest and 7 years of famine. Y'all ain't did the math? Goodness. And I always think about, what's the brother? Noah? Noah on that, or they had to have something to survive 40 days. That's 7 weeks.
That's substance. Well, we gotta be prepared to go without a lot of comforts. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize what's just comforts and not survival, things that you don't need. Like for me, I had to finally get off the grid in terms of the doggone cable box. I didn't realize I got off cable box. I don't have a cable box anymore.
Oh yeah, that's like the pipe. That's digital crack. Yeah. Oh yeah. But to share with everybody, and Ms. Sharia, you can share your professional opinion as we close out. And I thank you all, and not to, But this is a serious matter, especially when it comes to our people. Because usually we're the ones, when you look down Mississippi, the flood, everybody in that line looked like me.
Yeah.
That means they were not prepared. Nobody talked to them. They thought they had it. And everything they had was not good enough to have them in a position where they could be self-sufficient. They were waiting and hoping that the Red Cross or somebody dropped something on the table. But any closing words y'all want to share with the audience? Anything that you're doing, how to get in touch with you or anything like that?
Ms. Thomas, you go ahead first.
Okay, thank you. Yes, as I said, definitely in terms of survival is we want to start with our physical body in terms of keeping it in shape. And I do have a challenge going on. It's ongoing, but I'm offering a 14-day free trial. And people can go to my website at shariathomas.com, meet me in the community, where we provide the support you need to stay accountable to your goals, as well as meal plans. And there are actual fitness programs to assist you. Now, on our mental note is just us talking about survival, it can definitely bring up a lot of fear and panic in people. So just allowing yourself, even with you saying, drummer, of having that time to self is first accepting uncertainty. And we can put that in place of allowing ourselves to know that as prepared as we try to be, we don't know. And it's allowing ourselves to be okay with knowing that I can only do as much as I can. Yes, I can have that plan in place, but at the same time, putting in the markers every day to stay in that space where we can accept the uncertainties of life that comes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you, drummer, for having me on tonight. And I really appreciate you, Ms. Thomas, sharing with us and keeping us well-rounded in this whole thing about being prepared. And I did want to say that it's one thing to have a bug out bag, but you need to have a bug out place to go to so you can be safe. So you need to be working about it, because it makes no sense to have a bug out bag and you can't bug out to another location that could give you protection, the resources that you need to survive. Make sure you focus on that. They may be in another state. That may be in a family property that you have and that you own. It does have those resources on it. Think about it. So build some relations back with your family and talk about these things, because we all can be caught in situations where we need to be prepared so we can be prepared to survive with our families. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you both. And thanks to everybody for joining us. Like, share, and tag us over on our YouTube channel. And we'll see you next week. We will continue to focus on staying ready. If we stay ready, we don't have to get ready. And that puts you in a position where you're always ready for any situation. So take care, and we'll see you next week. Reginal Drummer, the Peopleologist. Stay ready so we don't have